Evening all, Daniel Hand, RPG therapist. Still a bit croaky. I apologise for not getting a video out last week. I said I was going to be good and put one out. I actually got worse after I said that. So, man flu, great. As you can see, you're joining us for part 2, or really part 1 of session 1. I don't know what this is, of our Avatar Legends playthrough from a therapeutic RPG standpoint. As you can see, I am again joined by the incomparable Emily Lynn, the angelic Charlene McPherson, and Eric Drosnock. Sorry, the best we could do. And how is everybody?
Good.
Good. Please tell me somebody's done some reading, because I have done nothing.
You're not supposed to admit that.
I've read a graphic novel for Avatar, if that counts. I mean, I did some history.
It's more than I've done. I watched The Lover's Tunnel, whatever that episode was called, a couple of weeks ago. But that it wasn't as helpful as I was hoping, frankly.
No, it's not a very helpful episode.
You know, although it did learn me to go, you know, why have you got that red mark on your forehead?
The amount those kids go into caves has me stressed. Like, I would never.
Those kids are back in the cave again.
So scary.
So, yes, as I say, apologies. I am still a bit ill, so I'm not going to be on full form today. But I also realize that's good, because when people inevitably say, "Daniel, that's not how you do it," I'm like, "Yeah, look, I'm ill. Come on, you know, I don't care. I wasn't trying." Obviously, last time we had a look at the character creation process, but also the character choosing process. Does anybody want to go through and tell us a little bit about their character, remind me more than anybody else who their characters are and what they do? I remember the word chaos being used a worrying number of times.
I think that was more about us and less about the characters, but sure, we'll go with the characters being chaotic. All right, I'm down with that.
Who wants to start?
I don't mind. Briefly, just looking at Hanu's sheet again, the pre-generated character sheet. She was raised in not raised, but she grew up in a waterbender prison camp. During, I guess, when the Fire Nation was kind of, more so taking over. After the war, she ended up returning to her village, became a warrior, somehow ended up getting involved with pirates, where she kind of, I guess, her morals were challenged of like what is good, what is bad, what's not. And I think that was all challenged there. The person that she met, the pirate, I believe, Gayu, I think he passed away, and now I am chasing his son because I vowed to take care of his son. And I guess the son goes many places, because apparently I'm going all over the place to find him. So that is Hanu in a little nutshell right there.
What was the kid's name again?
The kid's name is Kahola.
I remember things. I do. Eric, how about yourself?
Because I have the character sheet, I can remember stuff now. I'm playing Bin. Bin, first and foremost, as we were joking with Fran, is evidently allergic to a shirt. Bin is a Fire Nation. Is a citizen of the Fire Nation. Grew up towards the end of the 100-Year War. But was pretty disenfranchised with the whole like Fire Nation rah-rah thing. Just didn't buy into it. Borrowing Charlene's language from last time, he is a bit of a chaos gremlin. He kind of enjoys just kind of seeing what fun he can make for himself, and not overly concerned about what trouble it creates for other people. They talked about him being towards the end of the war, associating with some pirates to help them steal some Fire Navy material. And I'm just kind of making the leap that after the war closed, he kind of capitalized on some of those misadventures and connections and got out of the Fire Nation to go explore and cause chaos where chaos seems to be running amiss.
And Charlene.
Yeah, this is going to be really hard for me because I'm not supposed to be a chaos gremlin. Me as a person, I am a chaos gremlin. The character is supposed to be sad and haughty. So I'm playing Heezing, the icon. He is an earthbender, and he is a justiciar and a law keeper. His family was scattered by the Fire Nation during the 100-Year War. So he's not like in his original town anymore. He's going around. He says lately he's heard of the struggles surrounding the pirates in the Fire Nation waters and has made them his focus. And the most important part out of this whole thing is that he has a mongoose lizard named Balbo.
I forgot about that. I knew there was some animal.
And I'm going to be climbing everything.
I cannot tell you how terrified that little fact alone makes me. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm. And as I recall, you got together, Bin and Honu got together because they were mates in Pirateville or something like that, and Honu asked Hershing for help finding the boy, and that's kind of how you all got to know each other.
Yeah, what I remember was what wasn't it? Heejing and Hanu were conversing and talking about how to take care of this and get together the boy, and I'm just kind of was between, we'll say, opportunities, and this sounded like an amazing opportunity to keep myself entertained at the expense of others.
At the expense, of course. So, again, I do feel the need to, I'm going to be apologizing all the way through this because I am like, I can feel myself, like, look. So, yeah, the enthusiasm is going to be a bit reined in this time.
Don't worry, we'll make up for it.
Yeah, I know, that's kind of what terrifies me.
Daniel, roll for enthusiasm.
Go.
So then, I believe we are starting in the former Fire Nation colony of Yudao, which, as those of us who have read The Promise will recognize as being the setting for that particular comic book arc. That was well, instead of me explaining it, why doesn't somebody else, because that way I can save my voice, why doesn't somebody tell us what happened at Yudao Prime, somebody who might have read it in the past 24 hours?
Who could that have been?
Mystery.
So the basic gist is that in The Promise, spoiler alert for everyone who hasn't read it, so mute it real fast. We'll give you a thumbs up when I'm done. So at the close of the war, the big thing is that there's still a ton of Fire Nation colonies that are in the Earth Nation. And so the Earth King, along with the newly anointed Fire Lord Zuku and Avatar Aang, agree to start bringing peace and harmony by returning the balance to the world as it was, hence the image, the map behind me. And what ends up happening is that fast forward a year later, when you're going through, we come to the town of Yudao. Is that how it's
Yudao, yeah.
Okay. I just read it. I just I didn't pronounce it.
The place.
In my head. Yeah, the place. So what we run into in Yudao is the reality of this is one of the oldest Fire Nation colonies. It's been there for almost the entirety of the 100 Years War. And one of the characters that were introduced to Corey her parents, her father is a Fire Nation citizen and is mayor. And is a firebender. Her mother is an Earth Kingdom citizen and is an Earthbender. And even though Corey identifies and dresses as a Fire Nation citizen, she is an Earthbender. And this becomes the prominent plot line in that because some of these colonies have been here so long, there's not an opportunity to separate them. For the people that are there, this intermixing has congealed, has set in. And the conclusion of the story is that everyone's trying to fight and reset. The way forward isn't to return to what was, but to develop this new balance, this new connection. And a big foreshadowing of what's to come is when Katara has a moment of crisis to realize that if they can't allow this family with a firebender father and an earthbender mother to combine and move forward, however could Katara and Aang have a family or a future? Mm-hmm. So Yu Dao becomes this center for this new idea of the four nations moving forward collectively instead of as four individual nations. That work as a summary?
Yeah, and eventually, side note, spoiler alert, becomes Republic City for Legend of Korra. But one thing that I would add to that is that there is almost a war between another war between the Fire Nation and the Earth Kingdom because of Zuko going in and wanting to protect his people, the Earth King, I've forgotten his name, saying that we reparations, please, come on, and it was a misunderstanding / failure of communication rather than any hostilities, but it came close. And leads me actually to one of my few criticisms of Avatar Legends, the role-playing game, because it refers very heavily to the promise and gives you no information about it whatsoever. It says there's more information in the core rulebook, and there is about a paragraph. But if you're just playing the starter sets, come on, Magpie, that's cheap. The amount of money you're charging me, at least give me the information I need. Come on. So that's why I'm very grateful that somebody remembers the promise, because it's like, oh, okay. So if we're saying then that, and this is how we're going to actually moving into actually playing the game now, rather than just starting it. Instead of me again in my state reading out a long Matt Mercer-like introduction, we're saying that you've all been in Yu Dao for a little while now. You were present for said near bust up between Earth Kingdom and Fire Nation. It was called what was it called? The Harmony Restoration Movement. That's what it is. It refers to the Harmony Restoration Movement. If you haven't read The Promise, those three words will mean nothing to you. And it's like, come on, guy. I mean, they mean very little to me, and I have read The Promise. So for a moment, think about, get yourself into the zone. What were you doing during that particular period of time on Earth? Was that
chair?
Oh,
that's
chair.
Eric's chair. I'm pointing you out, bro.
Well, which is funny. This chair, I apologize now. This chair is super squeaky, and my other program, I think auto corrects for the squeakiness. Like, it doesn't come through on the mic, so I'm just so oblivious to it. So I apologize.
No, I have ADHD. I'm moving around all the time, so no judgments here.
Whereas a noise just came at me from my computer. I was like, oh my god, what is that? Is it the end of days?
Yeah, last recording I hear Hanu. It's like, ooh, remix. We love it.
I'll stop moving so much because ADHD kid on deck. What are you doing? Shift UI because I've sat still for like 3-4 seconds. I gotta move.
I feel you.
Yeah.
So then, just a normal day in Udao. It's probably about a year after the bust up between Fire Nation, Earth Kingdom. Life carries on much as it has been for a little while. You've heard reports of a bit of pirate activity in the area. Nothing to write home about. It's just pirates being pirates, really, isn't it? Oh, side note, sorry. Want to hear the worst/best pirate joke in existence?
Always.
Yes, please.
What does a pirate say on his 80th birthday?
What?
Aye, matey.
No. No.
I'm more laughing at Erica's response than Emily's response more than anything else.
I am
funny.
not sorry. I'm not.
Bad jokes.
I
Psychic
don't think
damage.
you are sorry.
Anyway, I saw that joke last week, and it's in my head all week ever since. I've been waiting for this moment. Anyway, so yes, pirate activity. Hasn't really affected you too much. You know, you all know about, you know, somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who was on a ship that was raided at some point, but it's somebody else's problem. Until one day, you are summoned to the town hall of the colony, and you arrive to be greeted by... Oh, what's his name? I can't remember what his name is. Let me just check. This guy.
Oh my.
Oh.
Who's that?
Zucker. Don't know.
And it's been Ong.
Well, no, I'm not going down. No, I'm not. I'm restrained. I stopped myself. Because isn't it spelt Ong? Because Ang surely would be just one A, wouldn't it?
But how it said through entire 3 seasons of episodes.
Anyway, you
America.
met Zuko before, apparently. So this is the part where I would normally go and read out lines and stuff, but sorry, we're not doing that today. And also, again, it's like criticism, there is no pre-written dialogue in here. If you want to give dialogue, you've got to write it yourself. I haven't. So yes, so Zuko has brought you all together, and he brings to your attention that the piracy. He asks you, "Have you heard about the pirates lately?" Again, I would do that in a Zuko voice, but no. And he asks if you've heard about the pirates. You say, I don't know, meh, maybe.
Of course, that's the whole reason I'm here.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, pirates. Yeah, sure. I mean, they're out there somewhere, right? I mean,
he looks at you and just says nothing and does the whole. I'm not touching that. I'm...
Guys, which eye do I look at?
I don't know. Which eye do you look at?
I don't want to be rude. Like,
oh goodness.
Oh.
And I think my character just kind of shakes my head. Like, what am I getting into?
Well,
I would still be like nudge and be like, the good one.
I can't do this.
y'all are laughing. I'm being serious.
So, one question it does ask here, and I've got a choice. I could talk to you about why he brought you here, or we could do the character creation bit first, if you want to do that. He goes, the reason he's called you all together is because you impressed him during the Harmony Restoration movement. Again, thanks for telling us what that is. Yeah. And then it has a series of questions, so for each player to answer about their character. Would you like to do that now, or shall I go through the whole setup first? Let's do the character stuff. That way I don't have to do any thinking. So, yeah, he just hinted towards piracy, so you know what's coming, especially Emily and Eric, because you have connections. You know people who know people.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason he's called you together is because you've impressed him. So the series of questions is: where were you? What conflict did you help quell? What standout thing Zuko remembers about each of you? And what did you do to make Zuko put his trust in you? So do we want to go in order? Do you want to chat together?
Repeat the first question.
Yeah.
Where were
we'll do
you?
it one more time.
Yeah.
For the kids in the back of the class.
Yeah.
So the first one, where were you? I mean, if we want to, again, going on the information we've got, let's just say you're in Udao, the former colony, or the local area.
Yeah.
The second one was, what conflict did you help quell? So again, this is why I was saying, Eric, you read the promise. Tell us what happened.
I have an
Then
idea. Sorry.
You have an idea? Okay,
I have
I'm
an
leaving.
idea.
What are the last two first, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
And what's one standout thing Zuko remembers about each of you? And what did you do to make Zuko put his trust in you? You see, if I'd read ahead, we could have talked about this last time.
Yeah. I mean, do you want to go like round robin and each do like hit one question and will all three of us answer it, or do you want to go roll four per? What are your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking. So, do you want to say that you were kind of a team at the time? You've been together for a little while. Sure. You knew each other. That way, we don't have to go through the whole "how did you meet" again, because that's what we did last time. So, where were you? We've said Udao already. What conflict did you help quell? So, between the three of you, Charlene said that you got an idea.
Yeah, last time we had said that one of the Fire Nation heads of state wasn't getting out. Basically, we came up with that idea last time. So I don't know if that's what we worked on together before to get this person to stand down and give up power.
Okay, yeah,
just an idea.
Anybody else feel about
that? I mean, and again, that's where we were at before, and I think that makes sense because Vin is not a fan of Fire Lord or Fire Nation pomp and circumstance. So if there are fire warlords, I guess, I think he'd be all about being like, yeah, we need to just kind of tap you for a while and annoy you.
So we basically ousted a past war leader, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah.
On the side we didn't like. Gotcha.
And that would obviously be the kind of thing that that would capture the new Fire Lord's attention. Getting a warlord to stand down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that was easier than I was expecting to spend half an hour on this. But what's one standout thing that Zuko remembers about each of you? So yes, we will go in turn for that one. Does anybody want to go first, or shall I just go?
I'm thinking if we were at Udao at the time of the conflict during the promise, all I'm thinking of now, the way that it fell down was that the rebels led by Smellerbee were already attacking Udao to try to oust the Fire Nation when the Earth Kingdom army showed up, soon followed by the Fire Nation army. And then, so all three of these groups start getting into it. In there come the newly identified air acolytes who are there, who have been studying air nomad philosophy and practice. And so the early acolytes, so they were in the middle trying to dissuade the confrontation. And I see Bin definitely in the background. Like, Bin is definitely picking sides and, like, metaphorically, like, pinging somebody, like standing behind one guy and throwing a rock at the opposite guy, just so, like, he's like picking fights for other people. Like, this is great. Like, I'm like totally sowing chaos. And then at some point, does this thing start getting out of hand as it starts turning from this like scuffle that no one thought would really escalate to all of a sudden, like, things start getting serious. I get definitely that whole Bin being like, I actually don't want to see them to get hurt. I'm just looking to, like, for people to be annoyed. I mean, definitely end up, like, you know, I see him doing the whole, as he has the rocket dagger, right? That really slick firebender, like Iron Man rocket move where they kind of like slide it real fast.
Yeah.
And just tackling someone of relevance to Zuko, and just, like, you know, before they get hit by some wayward rock being thrown or flame being shot, you know, and all of a sudden I'm just in the middle of the melee because I'm like, man, I actually don't want anyone to get hurt. I was just looking for, like, a good, like, scuffle and, you know, slap fight, people, like, just yelling at one another, and this is escalating. And so I just definitely see Ben just kind of sliding at one point and grabbing someone before they get, like, trampled by some as this is escalating.
Okay, cool. Yes, and yeah, definitely noticed that, wouldn't I? Emily, Charlene, what did Honu and Hershing, what were they getting up to?
You can go, Emily, if you have something.
So is this answering the conflict question, or did we already answer that as a group?
I think, yeah, as a group, you were taking down the Fire Warlord.
So now we're on, like, the standout
thing
that Zuko would remember. So for Hanu, I think he more so remembers how he felt around her, being that she's kind of quiet, right? And there's always this sense of she's holding you at an arm's length, but it's not necessarily an uncomfortable feeling. It's just he's almost analyzing you a lot. And at the same time, there's this idea that she's going to do something that's right. So despite you holding her holding you at arm's length, it's not necessarily like a I can't trust her situation, which I'll get to that next question, if that's okay, if I tackle that one kind of in the same answer. Is despite Hanu being kind of quiet, the thing that draws Zuko to her through her actions in the past as well is that she's very intentional about her actions, and she's very like truly neutral. Like, she's going to think about what she thinks is absolutely right, which is something that, as we saw with Zuko's evolution in the shows and stuff, similar things happen to him. So I think he might see a little bit of himself in her as well, which is probably why he is drawn to her and trusts her inherently, despite her quiet nature and maybe not knowing much about her.
Charlene.
So I think Heezing is a little hard to read. He's there for duty, and this is what he's supposed to be doing. And you would think somebody like raised in a culture like that just kind of follows orders, I would imagine. But during the fight, I imagine that there was a choice that he had to make between, you know, taking down the Fire Lord or the Fire Warlord, or protecting civilians that the Fire Lord was going after. And so I'm pretty sure Heezing would have immediately left the Fire Lord to other people, and then, you know, built a rock wall of protection around the citizens, the civilians, to protect them. And so I think Zuko saw that there was no hesitation there. And so he knows that he's going to fight for whatever's right, not necessarily what the order is.
And I think actually that's already answered the fourth one as well, because Zuko would trust Bin if Bin's going to go and save one of his bodyguards. Yeah, that's it. If you're going to save civilians rather than take down somebody, even if they're a powerful enemy, then that kind of. I mean, if there's anything else you'd like to add, just to add a bit of flavor. Because the thing is, I do like about Powered by the Apocalypse games is that this is kind of the role play. There is some of the role play involved, but a lot of it is just like, okay, so what happens now? What do we do?
Yeah.
It's storytelling as much as dose riling or even dice rolling.
Well, and I think too, like, if you want me to expand on it, like, again, like, I don't think it was just civilians. It might have been some Fire Nation people in there as well. And so, like, the fact that we're going and fighting Fire Nation, but then I'm protecting Fire Nation at the same time, but they're civilians, they're, running or bodyguards, or they're not involved in the main, fight. So I'm going to protect them over, dealing damage or whatever.
And if I could add on to that, like, that also isn't exhibiting on some level like neutrality, but like for the sake of doing something that's right in like saving citizens, saving people. And I could see something that would be something that maybe Hanu would have also been involved in as well, since we were as a group doing that. So yeah.
And I just imagined again Bin getting distracted because there's shiny over there, and what you guys are doing is good, but that's really kind of dull. Hence why he got distracted by the shiny and the combat going on. And once he was in that combat, I can just, he's all about sowing chaos and messing around and messing with people, but also growing up in the war, he's not looking for there to be another one. And so I can just see him being really uncomfortable by this, this aggressive show of force. And kind of, I can see him after, whatever he did to take care, to get that other person out of harm's way, kind of backing up and in the center there with some of the air acolytes and some of the other people there, and just trying to not, getting into some of the fights, but to break them up. Like, to how is he getting into disengage people who are starting to get into it? Whether he's tripping up earthbenders or whether he's firing counterblasts of fire to break up some of the firebenders that are shooting, just trying to push things off and dissuade what the air acolytes as non-benders are just at limited doing. He's adding a little bit of extra. Because again, he's all about sowing a little bit of chaos and keeping everyone on their toes. But no one benefits, no one profits, no one gets any better through another war.
It's fun until it's dangerous.
Yeah. I wonder too if Bin always ends up in the combat, even though he doesn't want to be. Like, always ends up in the center of trouble. And so, like, our two characters are like, okay, he's got that. He always does. We're gonna focus on saving these people because he's in the center of it. He'll fix it. It'll be fine.
He's like the Forrest Gump of just the Avatar world. He's just showing up everywhere.
You're like, he's going to get this. And Bin's definitely like, oh, man, what are we doing? And all of a sudden, I'm in the fight. I'm just like, damn, so didn't want to be here. All right, let's do it. Like, for Bin, it is totally like, it is all like, reactionary brain. And all of a sudden, he's in it and he's like, all right.
Here we go again.
Not running away, but so this was the choice, huh? Let's do this.
I've just got that bit in all anime where the face just drops and just becomes a flat circle with a sweat mark down.
Yeah, I totally see him like seeing like what the calamity was about to ensue. Like, you're like one of Zuko's bodyguards, right? Something's about to hit him. He comes like he's on the side, like, pegging the freedom fighters with rocks, just having the freedom fighters think that it's, somebody trying to take him off. And all of a sudden he just sees this out of his corner of his eye, slides in. And now he's just like, he went from being on the periphery, kind of like between the battle and you guys, as you're like trying to save people, to all of a sudden he's in the melee and kind of like, damn it.
He's the raccoon from Ice Age.
Yeah.
Rat. Yes.
That's funny.
I imagine that Zuko's also thinking about Ben as like, dude, why is your shirt off? And we're just like, we're used to it. Pay no mind.
Yeah.
And Ben,
stick around that part.
This is a regular thing.
And Ben goes, why is it off? Because you already noticed. Thank you.
Whereas I would have thought his response would be, dude, why is yours on?
No, that's external awareness. Ben is predominantly about the bin.
Yeah. All about the bin.
All about the bin.
So,
That has to be your tagline.
The bin.
Sorry? No, go on. You can no, you can't hide. Sorry.
No, I just say like as Charlene's like, that's gonna be a tag. Like Ben's definitely gonna be one of those people who talks about himself in the third person sometimes.
Yes.
The bin does not get involved in that. Like it's totally gonna be that.
The boulder field.
Yes. Coincidentally, the boulder does also not wear a shirt.
Exactly. Feels conflicted about fighting a small child.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, Ben does finger guns with shoots a little bit of fire out of them.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fits.
So now that we've established that, Zuko says, so God, my voice. I wish I had a better voice. Zuko says, well, I suppose you're wondering why I've called you all here.
Yeah.
Please.
And he's just like, yeah, I don't know what I was expecting people to say when I asked that. In that slightly confused way Zuko talks about everything,
Mm-hmm.
And then he tells you a bit of again, voice, but he tells you a bit of the history of the area. He'd already mentioned the pirates, but he gives you a bit more of a background history on an island known as the Crimson Sails.
Ooh.
During Azulon's reign in the 100 Years' War, naval officers of the Fire Nation who committed crimes or refused to follow orders were dishonorably discharged and were left to go on their way. Over the years, these officers banded together and became the Crimson Sails Armada, a group of pirates who would go around raiding and stealing from the Fire Navy. They gathered wealth, and by the time my father Ozai took the throne, they were a formidable threat to the Fire Nation. Blah, blah, blah. Tickety-boo, tickety-boo, tickety-boo. When he was getting ready for Sozan's comet, and he just kind of looks around the room, you know that way. It's like, yeah, we don't talk about that around here. But he realized he couldn't divert his forces to fight the pirates, so he cut a deal with them. The pirates agreed to stop attacking the Fire Nation, and my father agreed to deliver food, money, and supplies to these reformed pirates. They settled on a small island, which actually came to be known as Crimson Sails. Not least because ships too damaged or to be repaired or to set sail again were thatched and tied to the island, their red sails fluttering like flags in the wind.
Mm.
As the 100-Year War came to an end and my father was deposed, the captains of the Crimson Sails Armada approached me again, expecting me to honor his earlier promise and continue to pay food and money for peace. I am of the opinion that the money should be used for more worthy causes. I'm not going to be extorted by pirates. And when this Captain Kangana, sorry if that's not how you pronounce it, but yeah.
It is now.
How we pronounce it now.
It's how it's pronounced now, yeah. And when I told this Captain Kangana that I wasn't going to accede to her demands, she left. And since then, the Crimson Sails have reverted to doing what they have always done best, being pirates. Except this time, they're not only attacking Fire Nation Navy vessels, they're attacking merchant ships, civilian vessels, and Earth Kingdom boats as well. Recently, a Fire Nation vessel, again, gonna kill the pronunciation, apologies, Zaisan's Hope, which was carrying crucial cargo for the Earth Kingdom as part of the Treaty of Yudao. Again, you'd understand it if you'd read the promise, but if you haven't, just make it up as you go along. Which was being brought to aid the people of the Earth King, has just vanished. I think the goods are currently on Crimson Sails Isle. I hope I don't have to tell you how serious a situation this is. If the missing goods aren't delivered soon, the Earth King will think that I've broken the treaty that took so much hard fighting and Earth and Fire Nation blood to achieve. We must get it back, and quickly. That's about it.
No.
Well, it's good to hear the Crimson Sails are turned into proper pirates instead of just niche pirates. They're a lot easier, I think.
Instead of privateers, isn't it? Like if you're if you're associated with a certain country, you're a privateer, but if you're not, then you're a pirate.
Yeah, because that's what we're here. We're here to be pinickety about pirate terminology.
If you hired them, they're privateers. If they were hired against you, they're just pirates.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's all perspective. But Zuko goes through that, and Ben's like, well, it's good to hear that they're proper pirates now, instead of just being real picky about who they're going after. So sure makes their jobs a lot easy. Yeah, it's probably not.
Yeah, he just kind of looks at you in that Zuko way. I should.
Yeah.
That's
Ben,
not
you're
funny.
looking at the wrong eye.
Yeah.
I definitely know.
Now you trust what he likes.
I lean over to Hanu. Wrong eye.
My ears are just fine.
Oh yeah. Sure.
I am
Of
saying
course, Skyward,
absolutely nothing except for maybe shaking my head.
He tells you that he has managed to commandeer, I think, a small boat that should be big enough to get you over to Crimson Sails. It's an old ship. It's a bit rickety, so it will hopefully pass for a privateer vessel if you approach right.
My what is it called? My mongoose lizard. Yes, I'm pretty sure my mongoose lizard can run across water. So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, but the ocean.
But open ocean, that's another thing. At some point, they get fatigued.
Just if we get close, as a distraction or something like that. Just FYI.
It's a shame we don't get one of those. What were those things during the end of the war? Those great war balloons. Remember the Earth King showed up in one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were talking about making an entrance on Crimson Sails Island. I mean, that's making an entrance. I mean,
yeah.
you know, if we want to make sure we get, maybe that's too obvious.
The Fire Nation doesn't have the forces to dedicate to an operation like this. We need subtlety. We need guile.
Oh yes, subtlety. Yes, excellent. Yes.
So Zuko, you want to send us on this rickety ship to Crimson Isle?
It's a perfectly fine ship. I've inspected it myself. It'll float.
I'm so glad. Great. So surely you've told the Earth King about, like, have you talked to the Earth King about this already, or this is just a secret you're hoping to resolve beforehand?
I so lean over to Hiji and be like, I don't think she was listening to the story.
If I were to tell the Earth King that the money and the supplies have vanished, he would probably believe that I was what's the word when you break a treaty?
So you're scared.
You should be too. Because if the Earth King thinks that I'm cheating him, there will be more fighting.
And as an Earth King or Earth Kingdom citizen, he's not one to be very forgiving.
Leaning over to Hanu and like total Sokka, like subtlety. And as a Fire Nation citizen, you don't tell the Fire Lord that he's scared.
What are you gonna do? Put me in a fire prison? Oh wait, already there.
He sighs. You're right. I am scared.
Okay.
We fought a war. Many people on all sides died. If you can get onto that island, find those supplies, and bring them back, we can avoid more death.
Okay. What do you think, guys?
I don't know. I think it could always be fun to see what opportunities there exist on Crimson Sails Island. I mean, heard some funny stories over the years.
Let me rephrase. What do you think, Hijing?
Do we know if there's any civilians on the Isle, or the Isle is definitely just pirates?
So they are all pirates, but they're also they will have their families with them, but they will be pirates too. These are people who have spent the past 100 years either pirating or hoping to pirate.
Has anyone tried diplomacy?
Yes, they tried diplomacy, and I said that I wouldn't pay them.
You're right. And there's no negotiation possible.
I won't be extorted by pirates.
Very well.
Well,
if my uncle were here, he would say something like, I'm literally making this on the fly, so I apologize up front here and now. Those who seek to find that which is lost must first look within themselves and find out what is there. He never made any sense to me either. And then just looks at you. But maybe that would help.
And you see Hijing kind of like really taking it to heart. And like, yeah.
And Bin's trying to look deep, like.
Wow. I can't believe that worked. And well, I'll have my people show you to the boat if you're willing to help.
Once we're at this island, what specifically are you looking for us to accomplish there?
I need you to find the money and supplies and get them back here. Okay. How you do that, I leave to your discretion.
All right.
I only know that they are on the Crimson Sails Isle. Where and with whom, I couldn't tell you. He wouldn't have said with whom, would he? Because that's not the way Zuko talks. Well, that's the way I talk.
All right.
We all have Zuko interpretation in our head going. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. To the boat.
Ahoy.
And like Bin definitely gets up and like in the most awkward, like, you know, knowing what to do as like a third grader, kind of like tries to bow and like Fire Nation like tries to acknowledge the fact that like Fire Nation citizen, Fire Lord Zuko, like just it's all awkward. He's like stumbling backwards as he's trying to bow. It's not.
And Zuko just kind of watches and just doesn't even.
You'll have to.
I'm sure Handu and Hee-Zing just kind of like get up and walk away, and like I bow and I look and like they're like out the door and I'm like damn it, like kind of like run to catch up with them.
Hanu would have just given like a nod like this and left. So
I would have done whatever the formal salute probably would have been.
nerd.
Yeah, you know.
So cut forward then. I mean, unless you want to do something, play role play or anything like that, it says just fast forward slightly to the players being on the boat just outside Crimson Sails. So do you want to do that, or?
I have a question. Does my mongoose lizard fit on this boat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because you're right. When the Fire Lord said subtle, Mongoose Lizard screamed subtle. Excellent.
Yeah, I
He screeched as he said that.
Subtle. Yes, that's
Just
exactly what I meant. As we're walking away, by the way, after I guess we're walking like to meet whatever Zuko's party is, I'm definitely like, guys, look, like I'm not for Fire Nation like nobles, but like that's the Fire Lord. Like I mean, Zuko's like Fire Lord Zuko's new to the role and all, but like other Fire Lords, like you know, he kind of made angry. He kind of didn't get seen again. So I'm just saying that like when it comes between like pirates and ticking off a Fire Lord, let's tick off the pirates, okay? Let's get to that end of that scale. Hanu, what do you think? You think we can work on that one?
And Hanu would respond,
And I think you see Hee-Zing go
to the boat.
to the boat.
and then the mongoose lizard in the back.
Oh,
Here we go.
I'm getting all hot and bothered already here.
That was a good noise. I would not have
you.
come up with that noise. That was a good one.
As a side note, the fact that we just keep calling it The Boat, if you're familiar with the movie from the 1980s with there's a John Cusack movie where they're racing and they name it The Boat.
The boat.
So it's totally what's in my head at this point.
I don't know.
And I keep forgetting my mongoose lizard's name. Balbo.
Balbo.
Balbo Baggins, we'll remember.
Balbo Baggins.
Oh, Emily, frozen.
Yeah, I know. I can see that.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
And
you
we're
froze with a very,
back. We're good.
Yay!
but you froze with a great, excited, exuberant face.
Yeah,
right?
you did.
That's
It was a
what
good,
matters.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a fun time.
And you just see me over there petting the mongoose lizard.
So
Good job.
you've made it safely to the island. You can just see Crimson Sails in the distance. As Zuko was saying, it's you can just see just this sea of crimson fabric. It's just an entire city of rundown boats which have been repurposed into buildings with canvas everywhere. You know, it's your proper what's it called, pirate village from Hook. You know, just the ships have been bought on land and just yeah. As you get close, though, a very small fleet of ships comes out towards you. And a captain calls out to you, "Hello, my friends. It seems you must be lost or very confused because we don't know you, and no one in their right mind comes to Crimson Sails unannounced and unvouched for."
I was gonna say, did we like use any disguises or anything like that? Did we have any like pirate clothes that we could put on before this happens? Anything like that?
I think there would pirate clothes. Is there anything as pirate clothes in the Avatar verse? I think pirate clothes is whatever you happen to be wearing at the time. I think.
Finn puts away his like fake hook that he had on his hand behind his back.
So okay, I just wanted to make sure. So we're like we're out there.
As there's that, like Bin definitely goes to the to whatever side is most proximal to the approaching ship. He goes, What? I swore Captain Mosi sent a hawk. I'm sure Captain Mosi sent a hawk to let him know that we were coming. Did you get a hawk?
Bin, is that you?
I kind of look around real quick, look at them, go, damn it. Yeah, hey, how's it going? It's been forever.
Because actually you recognize that it is indeed Captain Mosey who is hailing you.
Captain, hey, how those boats out? We got from the from that fire navy yard. I mean, that was great, wasn't that? That was like, yeah, we got this thing, a couple weeks back. It's not too bad. It floats. It's pretty good. How are those boats doing for you?
What techniques have we got? What moves? Come on.
Yeah.
Totally going. I got roguish charm.
Mm-hmm.
Push your luck, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. For moves, I one of the moves I have is roguish charm.
Right.
When you NPC or guide and comfort someone by flattering them and empathizing with them.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So I'm not sure. What am I?
When you plead, okay. So if you,
this is definitely. I'm thinking this borders on pleading, like this kind of like con, like, oh hey, how's it going? Remember we did that awesome thing together, and like how it worked out really well. Like that's
okay. If that's what you want to do, okay. Yep.
So you're rolling. It says
what am I rolling?
So you roll your 2d6 and then you add your creativity.
Roll creativity, which is a +2, baby. Let's see how this goes. And fear not, I've got the Fire Nation clickety clacks.
There you go.
Whoa! And one already fell off.
Oh my!
Dice down.
Dice down. 6 + 2 is an 8.
Okay,
so
well,
not an awesome success, but it's
enough. It does the job. So he just kind of sits back and just kind of that the good old days look on his face. Yeah, so that old airship though didn't last very long. We tried getting it to fly, and yeah, you'll have to do better next time, young man.
It's easy now. I mean, the war is over. There's all kinds of stuff floating all over the place. How do you think we got this?
What brings you here?
This boat.
Sorry, that's Charlene. That's not my character. Not at all.
The fact there was zero pause there. The fact that it was just straight in.
No hesitation. I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's brought you this far, so come on. And he has a chat with his crew. Says, "Don't worry, fellas. he's with us. He needs a bit of work, but you know, his heart's in the right place. His brain, on the other hand. So yes, so he takes your back, and he what's it called? Tells his crew to carry on, then jumps over onto your boat because, you know, he may trust you, but you still need an escort.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, seriously.
I got for that plank. It's a little weak, and there's a hole right there. So just be careful where you step. It's it's a work in progress.
Yeah, and then he just kind of realizes that in missing that plank, he's stood in a pile of mongoose lizard crap.
And I secretly like, good job.
No, but seriously, what brings you out here? These are troubled times. It's a dangerous place to be. It's not as fun and jolly as it used to be.
Have you been a Fire Nation citizen out in the world lately? I don't know that it's a good time to be us anywhere right now.
I nearly said true dat. I've been living with a teenage boy for too long.
Yeah, next thing you say, bro. Pure dat, bro.
Bruh.
No, bruh.
Bruh. Yeah, bruh.
Bruh.
Still, he puts his hand on your shoulder. It's good to see you, son.
Okay.
We need more people. We need more people like you with a bit of verve, a bit of chutzpah, a bit of whatever it is you've got. And who are your friends here?
Oh, this is Hanu and Hijing. Yeah, they're just, we're all just kind of figuring out this whole like post-war thing. I mean, it's gotten weird for everyone out there.
You guys, what are you doing throughout all of this?
I'm uncomfortable because I'm not supposed to be like being chummy with pirates. So I think this is different for Hijing. He's trying to keep it together and not be like as I guess haughty, I guess is the word. And like rule followy. So he's kind of awkward and kind of robotic, not responding to a whole bunch of stuff.
How about Hanu?
Hanu is really taking it all in. Not necessarily uncomfortable, but just very much very cautious right now.
Listing down the questions she needs to ask Bin later.
Many. And honestly, a little impressed with Bin right now. Like, okay, man. Okay. So,
I mean, are there any things you'd like to do, like to ask him, like to say, like to pay attention to?
I was like, can I message? Not in D&D. Like, I wanted to message Eric's character. No, I don't have that.
No.
Can I ask questions to?
Yeah.
What's the captain's name, real quick? This is Emily asking.
Mosai.
Mosai, like M-O-Z-I-A. Z-A-I.
M-O-S-I.
Oh, M-O-S-I.
Okay.
M-O-S-I. I'm just writing it down so I can remember.
Of the dancing nobleman fleet, if you still.
So we were asked why we're here, like what brings us out here.
Yeah.
Okay. Ben and I met a long time ago. We've just kind of been riding out the aftermath of the war, trying to find wherever's comfortable, and we're here now. So
he looks at Ben with a respect, then leans over to Hanu. You can do much better.
It's definitely one of those moments that were like Ben's looking at like some kind of shiny surface, being like, like completely oblivious.
but you know, love takes us all in strange, mysterious ways. I know.
I'm sorry, did we say love?
Oh,
As
sorry.
Ben's like,
But
here, as
think-
Ben's looking,
You think
Ben's looking,
no.
Oh,
Ben's
It's
looking at the
okay.
reflection.
We
Ben's
don't
looking
need to
at the
make this
reflection. Yeah,
awkward.
love's on point. Yeah, love sounds about right.
No, I wasn't sure either. So,
And Ben put a damn shirt on.
What? I'm sorry. What?
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank God for that. Just yeah.
yeah,
And as
just
and
confused.
as you get closer to the island, he points out various different ships and areas. You've got the pyre. He points out the pyre howler. Yeah, which is, I forget which one. I learned all of these earlier, but I didn't. You've got the pyre howler, which is a really big ship with 3 masts and looks actually quite well cared for. Excuse me. You've got the burning wave, which looks massively ostentatious, as in it looks like, you know, it's got it's got colors. It looks like rich people live there.
Mhm.
You've got, and then he points over there. Oh yeah, that's the Renegade Phoenix. They're the real hard nuts around here. And he points out, and this is my lot, and he just points out just all of the smaller vessels in the area. We're the Dancing Nobleman Fleet. Young Ben will be able to tell you all about it. And as you get closer, you really start to feel that this isn't just an island with a couple of ships. This is actually an entire, this is a society. This is a pirate society. This is, what's it called? My flag means death kind of stuff.
Tortuga.
I'll pull what is it? Gosh, what was the girl's name in Pirates of the Caribbean? Keira Knightley's character. I can't remember. What's it? I invoke parlay. Parlay.
Polly.
And Ben's like, I don't know. Like, Ben's just looking at Moss Like, I'm like, man, you can't go to ocean. You can't go in the ocean with a waterbender. That's all I gotta know, man. Like,
It didn't actually happen. It was just Emily's mind.
I know.
I apologize.
In my head, I'm just imagining the playthrough, like you just kind of talking to yourself in the corner and just like chuckling to yourself. You're imagining the scenario.
This is gonna. I just talked to my mongoose. This is gonna be very interesting. Pet.
And he guides you onto the island. He points out where you can tie your ship up. He shows you. You've got floating noodle bars going around. There's a what's it called, a rough and tumble theater on the beach. You've got gambling dens. You've got houses of ill repute. You've got this is Udao, but with pirate flag. And the bay in front of it is it's like just a stream of rowboats going between the big ships, like, I don't know, think of an arteries, blood vessels. I don't bloody know. Leave me alone. And as you get closer and closer, you just realize that this isn't just a small gang of pirates. This is a big operation. This is why Zuko was so worried about launching an all-out invasion.
Ben, do you recognize anybody besides the captain?
I mean, a bunch of the boats from Dancing Noblemen. I mean, some of those are maybe a little familiar.
Do you think we could talk to them and see whether they know anything about what happened? Anybody you trust / no?
So you say pirates, and then you say trust. Have you worked often with pirates? Because I'm getting a feeling that you haven't.
No, I have not, and it is a fact of pride. And I'm a little uncomfortable about being here.
So, Mosai, I know. Do I trust Captain Mosai? He's a pirate. Does Captain Mosai trust me? I'm kind of a pirate from his perspective, so the answer is going to be no. Can we ask questions? Sure.
Yeah. Where should we ask questions?
I've never been here, so I guess we'll kind of find out as we go.
Listen, as someone who has both lived with and worked with pirates, we're in their territory right now. If we're acting like let's ask all these questions, I'm not sure how well that'll work out for us right away. I think it's important we do, but the important thing we got to do right now is treating them just like regular people, like we would in You Die. Is that how you say it? Sorry.
You Dow.
Yeah. Sorry. So, low profile, friendly, and we'll just take it from there. Eventually, we'll probably find the people we need to find.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but in the past, when you're working with pirates, a lot of times it's about getting to be known the right way.
You've worked with pirates, Ben?
Well, I've worked with entrepreneurs who were looking to, make their way in the world and try to better navigate what they were doing. And, sometimes they had friends and knew people and had jobs I didn't ask about.
I tend not to ask questions first. I act and then ask questions. So this
Sorry,
is
you
all
are the
new.
character.
Both. So I will leave it to you two.
And I'll toss it out to Daniel as a GM question. Like, knowing that Ben's kind of been metaphorically and literally floating around since before the end of the war, and has had, obviously conical connection with Captain Mosi. Otherwise, I don't know what else. Like, if there's any other. I don't know what are the chances of me knowing or seeing somebody that I may be familiar with, like any boats, any flag, any kind of, designations that may be obvious. I have no idea.
How about you roll assess a situation?
Okay.
Just realised that is my problem when I work with clients. I forget that the dice are there, even though I've got so many of the damn things. I'm just like, let's tell the story. Oh yeah, no. And obviously the moves are such a big part of PBTA. I'm like, oh yeah, no, let's do that thing.
Aha, here we go. Basic moves. Assess the situation. Excellent. See, as I see, I did come with my cheat sheet. I just need to remember to cheat. That's what I have to do. So, assessing the situation. And I'm not adding. This is just a straight roll. Okay. 6. Wah, wah, wah.
Blah 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 blah. You know that the Dancing Nobleman fleet is it's more of a loose conglomeration of ragtag little vessels who aren't allied to any of the 3 major ships. We get the Fire Howler, the Burning Wave, and the Renegade Phoenix. So Captain Mosai is a bit like you. He's a bit all over the place. He is nominally in control of the Dancing Nobleman fleet, but only because somebody is. And
Yes.
but that makes him the poor man of Crimson Sails. He hasn't got he doesn't. He hasn't got a chip on his shoulder. It's not that it's not that he cares. He's just like he's dedicated to the idea of freedom, whereas the bigger ships and their captains are a bit more highfalutin. Yeah, a bit more like, they're just plebs. We let the little people play amongst
and what strikes me is that probably when we're talking about the Pihawa, the Burning Wave, and the Renegade Phoenix are probably more like traditional high seas kind of pirates. And it sounds like the Dancing Nobleman fleet is a lot of like coastal pirates because of the smaller ships.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. Yes.
So in that pecking order, right? Dancing Nobleman is a bunch of people, they're picking up the scraps because they're not going after major game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've been in a city before. I know I haven't been around pirates, but I've been in a city before. There's got to be some gambling going on here, some drinking, some gambling, something. Oh, do I see any pirates making a ruckus, like a fun ruckus?
Oh yeah, this place is nothing but a fun ruckus. If it isn't selling alcohol, gambling, or human flesh of some kind, it's probably not open. So yeah, oh yeah.
So I know we're kind of looking around. There's again, this is up to you if this is okay. I'll see one of the ruckuses. It looks like they're at like one of the float up bars. Like I like to like they're like on a little floaty, like going up to the float up bar, like at a resort. That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, you just see people lying around in a bunch of rubber rings.
Yeah, just like. And I'd like to think that I'm riding my mongoose lizard, so I'm just like, we kind of scamper over there, and be like,
hey, watch it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no,
I'm just imagining like Ben walking far enough behind to be no way associated with that, but is remaining in visual proximity just for the sheer entertainment of this enormous animal trying to navigate these like streets in this pirate town.
Oh, that's just Balbo. He actually likes to drink too, and I put down two gold, 2 copper, or whatever, to ask for some ale or whatever you have on tap. 1 for me, 1 for the lizard.
1 for the lizard, right? Okay.
Yes.
Gets a bucket.
And you see Balbo, he goes after it right away. Like he's like, yeah, I'm used to this. He's drinking it up. He's good. And I'm just like, go ahead.
If Hanu's near me, I'm looking at her going, I just can't wait to see the lizard drunk.
Not again. We all know what night I'm talking about, guys. We can't do it like, you know what I'm talking about.
And you see me just like, I finish my one and then I go for the next one. And I start asking.
It's your responsibility this time. I'm off duty with that because that was wild last time.
I'm fitting in.
Roughly how long ago was like between the time it took us to get to Crimson Sails and when Zuko was aware of the loss of the shipment? What kind of like time span are we talking about ish?
I don't think it actually says, so
GM discretion.
Yeah, it's like being as he can fly, let's face it, probably about a week. Yeah, given that flight is a thing in this environment. He'd need time for the ship to be noticed that it's not, that there's late and there's worryingly late. And he'd have, he's got his own dragon. Has he got his dragon by now? I can't remember if he's got his dragon by now. There's flight.
Yes,
So let's say a couple of weeks, and it's time enough for it to have been brought back to the Isle, and
but not so much time as to and not so much time for as necessarily to have been processed was my question. I mean, maybe some of it was.
Yeah, it would still be extant.
A horde.
Yes.
Maybe even on the way in, like, were there any boats that stood out? I mean, because like we're saying, like some of the pirate ships almost stand out because they look, a little bit more worn, a little bit more ostentatious. That pirates usually want to hide who they are until the last minute, and I imagine in a moment like this that they're very, they're flying their colors well here. So, were there any boats that stood out because they were too underwhelming on the way in, maybe? I mean, again, I can roll for that just to see maybe on the way in.
Not really. I mean, the information on the ships is pretty much, I mean, you'd need to ask around to get a bit more.
Okay. But we didn't see anything on the way in that like stood out as like something that it was a boat that just didn't kind of belong there.
No, the named vessels are the ones that have, the ones that you would notice. You've got one that looks well used. It's clearly been in quite a few fights lately. You've got one that looks very prosperous, very, that's where the fancy pirates hang out. And you've got
I wrote that description as bedazzled, by the way.
Gentleman pirate.
Pinky up.
I described the boat as bedazzled.
Bedazzled. Would I be able to talk to the bartender and be like, so, where's the guy to get a job around here?
Ooh.
Could I do a plead? I'm asking.
That'd be a good one, I think, for that.
All right. 8. I got an 8.
Heck yeah, brother.
So I ask him, well, what's the best job that's out there right now, or what was the last best job, so I can go find that out.
Well, it depends on what kind of job you want. If you want to go out and actually, and he just mimes.
Yeah. Yeah, my lizard goes into the fighting ring sometimes.
Sorry?
The lizard goes into the fighting ring sometimes.
Then you want to go over to, is it the Burning Wave? Yeah, you want to go over to the Burning Wave. They've really jumped into this whole piracy business. Now that the Fire Lords stop paying us, they're the pirates. If you're looking for a bit of trade, then you want to go. Sorry, no, that was the Renegade Phoenix. Sorry, but it mentioned the Burning Wave in it, so I read them. That was the Renegade Phoenix. The Burning Wave. They're the ones who. I'm gonna need to get some water again, I think, in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a life of discipline and knowing where you belong, then you need to go and have a chat with the captain of the Burning Wave. They're the real military types.
Mm.
And
so, okay.
or if you like the fancy life, sorry, I'm getting myself all mixed up here because they've got everything. Magpie, come on, you can do better than this. The Burning Wave is where all the posh people hang out. They trade, and it just kind of spits that word out. There used to be pirates. Now they call themselves merchants.
Ugh. Ugh.
So
No idea what I'm
So
doing.
imagine like Jing being like trying to look all like gruff and just just being that amazingly awkward like the cop that has a T-shirt on that says undercover cop.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's kind of
If you're a cop, you have to
kind
tell
of
yeah. So just to be clear, so the Burning Waver is the posh ship. These are the merchants. The Pyre Howler, they're the military pirates. They're the ones who see themselves as the best pirates on the land, and the Renegade Phoenix, they're the ones who Bin would like just basically just want to go out and kill things and take what they have. Chaos.
So we have to figure out. I'm trying to think. Did any of them have a major score lately? It all seems rather chaotic.
Oh, chaos. Oh, it is. Chaos. Everything. And he just kind of points behind you. Chaos. Welcome to chaos.
And yeah. I was gonna say Heejing does not like chaos. That is not his thing. So
See his sphincter just tighten.
So I think out of character, which one do we think would have been involved in the taking of the thing, the military one, not the highfalutin guys. They're not going to go out there.
How about, and I'm going to toss language out there that Emily's going to make fun of me for tossing out for a second. But we're talking metagaming. Do we want to each like kind of do our patrol and then meet back up and we can PC converse as far as like what we're finding?
Yeah.
3 ships, 3 players.
Yeah.
Unless you'd rather Daniel have us be interacting with each other throughout.
No, it's the thing about excuse me. The thing about PBTA games generally is that they don't necessarily have a set structure of things. So you guys could just, again, metagaming, and because for conversation purposes, you guys could decide who did it if you wanted. You could just sit down and decide and then go after it.
And just because I agree with Heejing's like going to grab information, but I'd just be doing it in a totally different way. While he's doing that, I'd definitely be
So
sourcing info otherwise.
Okay, so let's cut over to Bin then. What's Bin doing whilst Hershin's mongoose lizard is getting drunk?
Lapping up a big barrel a big bucket of ale or something. Really flat, stale beer. Jersey Turnpike extraordinaire.
And you see me telling jokes to it.
Instead of looking for like the convenient place to drink, I'm just kind of listening for what's the rowdiest place to drink. And I'm just listening for like where they're already like there's not fights, but like we're probably close to one.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna find that place.
Okay. Yeah, you go over there.
And I'm going in, and like literally like when somebody like I'm looking for already like crazy, like ridiculously drunk group of people kind of like walking up, being like, already throwing number 10 junk thing, throwing their arm over. So I'm like, hey, hell yeah, like grabbing someone's mug and walking away. And just like and just walking in, I'm just like, I'm just trying to slide right into like whatever is going on. Like,
and behind you, the guy whose drink you just stole punches the guy who was stood next to him, thinking.
and Ben is already hitting on all cylinders. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going on behind me. And I'm like, well, and I definitely tap on like, what the heck's going on back there? Like, those guys have been at it too much, right? Hey, so, and I'm just, listening to conversations. Like, I'm just kind of like bouncing from like group to group, like, like and occasionally, dropping my empty tankard and like picking up one that was right next to it that's a little bit fuller.
And every single time, so got a trail of fights. You can watch his progress as the punches go.
And I'm just kind of listening for like what people are talking about. Like I'm just kind of like I'm bopping into conversations and everyone's kind of being a little overly exuberant and conversing about like what they've been seeing, what's been going on, and I'm just trying to listen for the right things. Somebody talking about like somebody moving a lot of material, or complaining about we got to do all this work. Yeah, Captain just got, oh yeah, we just got all this stuff in, or they, the guys just came back in, or we're trying to move. So I'm just kind of listening for those key things as I'm bouncing around this, and like every now and again, like nudging, like swaying with people, singing, like. Every now and again, kind of nudging somebody into a little, like, hey, I think that guy's talking bad about the Renegade, but yeah, those guys over there, the Renegade, they were talking about the Renegade Phoenix house, just like, this floating dung heap, man. They said it's just filled with, with skunk monkeys. Like, you gotta go,
half
what's
the
going
island
on?
Fire by the time you've just gone through this one room.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what's Hanu doing?
So Hanu being Hanu would be probably sitting relatively close to Heejing. Is that Heejing? Making sure that like she could hear that, like at least snippets of that conversation. There's awareness of what's going on. She's also watching Bin like a hawk, just like waiting for something of just like kind of like listening in one ear and then also like really watching him. Also suspicious of Balbo and his problematic drinking habits. So, she, again, it's very much taking things in.
Balbo just turns and looks at you, sticks his tongue out, and then goes back to drinking.
Yeah. So she would probably look pretty like rigid and kind of preoccupied, despite not talking to anyone at this time.
Okay. So between
how about this? Like, I'll toss it out again. This is the old gamer me. I'm looking at one of the moves I have is casing the joint.
All right.
And instead of looking for valuables, I'm casing the joint audibly, kind of like listening for what's the right conversation, what's the right audible cues.
Sorry, what audible cue? I'm not going to tell you what I thought I heard you say. No.
It's a good chance I'm mumbling. That could be on me.
Or it could just be that my head lives in the gutter and I hear things.
I'm constantly 12. It's okay. It's always junior high lunch in my head.
What was it? That Blink 182 song, High School Never Ends? Come on. Okay, well,
I mean, I'm assuming it's kind of like a variant of assess the situation. Casing the joint says, when you assess, there you go. When you assess a situation, add these questions to the list.
Oh, yeah. So
you may always ask one extra question from for these options, even on a miss.
Ooh.
That has the examples. It has like, what is the most valuable or interesting for me here? Who or what is the most valuable to me? Who here is in control, the wealthiest, or has the most power? So I'm really
sorry, somebody's left the bathroom door open and it's blowing on the wind and it's going to drive me up the wall. I'll be back in a few seconds. So.
I don't know. I always had this hard shift right from like all like skills and checks games to more RP games.
Right? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay, do I cast message? Like, how do I talk to the other characters? Ah!
Okay, well,
but yeah, casing the joint seems like like the most valuable or interesting to me. I mean, for me right now, the value is in the information. Like who am I hearing talking about something that seems possibly relevant? That's kind of what I'm looking for.
I mean, that essentially is what you're all doing, isn't it? You're all doing assess the situation in your own individual ways.
Yes.
So how about... Okay, we'll go through all of you then, and then you can each roll for assess a situation. And
is that 2 dice that you roll for that?
Yeah, so everything is 2d6, and then you add. So for assess a situation, you add your creativity modifier, which for Hanu would be
Hanu poop in the bed.
Hanu's just not creative. I mean,
that's not
it's
shocking.
kind of what Bin's all about.
Yeah. I'm just trying not to start a
fight. Is Bin intelligent?
They don't really. It doesn't have that kind of stats.
I was just wondering. If there's not a ready answer, you don't need one. I was just wondering if you knew offhand.
Hey, I'm creative. I would never call myself intelligent. Come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. To be an effective rogue, like to be an effective con man, you've got to be kind of quick on your feet, though. Like, there's got to be that level of that just to keep you safe and moving.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anybody want to go first?
I got clicky clacks in hand. I mean, I can roll if everyone else is looking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to drop them on the floor this time. So I'm willing to bet that maybe Ben had too many drinks.
This is why I was watching you guys. Apparently,
I just rolled a 2. And even with my bonus, that's a 4. I'm willing to maybe Ben got over exuberant or maybe started too many fights. I don't know what happened. Little of both.
But you can still ask a question, I understand.
Yeah, if you miss.
Yeah. And like I said, maybe I don't know if it's in this case if it's as much as ask a question or if what I'm searching for is I'm just bouncing conversation to conversation, trying to hear the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like in that case, the joint kind of idea. Does that count as asking a question? Like I just keep shifting.
Yeah, I think so basically you're not necessarily asking these questions of an NPC. You're just kind of asking the game what the answers are. So you're not going to go up and say what you're not going to ask the the barkeeper what's my biggest threat. This is more it's metagaming really rather than anything else.
And how about this? Even it may be if I hear the right thing, maybe then I engage in conversation. So maybe the question then is to the characters like, oh yeah, like what outfit you guys with? Yeah, we just sailed in, and maybe then becomes a conversation, and the question is more in trying to pinpoint what group they're with. If I hear the right information.
Well, and that kind of just solidifies the whole idea that you've got the 4 groups here. You've got the chaotic ragtag dancing nobleman fleet, who you're familiar with under Captain Mosai, and you've got an in with him. You've got the Renegade Phoenix, which is the worst looking fleet, one of the worst looking ships in the fleet. It's got patchwork of wood across its hull. It's clearly seen a lot of fight. Its captain is Captain Duga, I believe. Oh no, Tongfei, Tengfei. And Tongfei grew up in a military family, and what was it? Sorry, I do remember something. Yeah, so she came from a military family, went into service, but was injured whilst putting down a rebellion in the Earth Kingdom, and has declared open season on the Fire Nation, and she's the captain who's pushing for the most piracy. Jesus, why did it take me that long to remember the word pirate? Piracy. So yeah, with that role, that's probably all you're going to get from that. If you're looking for the hard-nosed bunch, the Renegade Phoenix and Captain Tong Fei, you can probably if you don't want to deal with the captain themselves, you could potentially speak to Lazy Lou, the first mate.
The most hardworking person in town.
Oh my god. Sorry, there is just. Or no, okay, no. Simply because it's hilarious. Or you could ask for Bad You. He took Good You's bunk one day, and Good You's never been seen since. Why?
Oh no.
No, so don't ask her
The
why.
drama.
It's just seriously. So Bad You. This is the entire character description. Bad You took Good You's bunk, and Good You was never seen again. Semicolon. No one dares ask her why. That is the entire character description.
I think that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Or you've got Shihan on the Renegade Phoenix. He's a big. He's the big guy. You'll know him when you see him. But I think with that role and the amount of alcohol you've consumed, that's probably as much as you'll get. Emily, do you want to have a go at assessing the situation?
Absolutely. I rolled a 10.
Ooh.
Nice.
Dabs.
It's
So yeah,
the effects of alcohol on your character's role. It's really.
Yeah, and it says on the 10 plus you get to ask 2.
you do. So yeah, which of those questions do you want to?
I want to ask first is what should I be on the lookout for? Can I add an addendum to that question or no?
Sure. Okay.
Meaning like when I say like what should I be on the lookout for is like has there been anything different lately? Does that make sense?
It does.
Like
yes.
that's what that kind of connotation to that question.
Okay.
And I should ask another one. What's my best way? And the second one I'll do is what's my best way in to any one of these groups?
Okay. Well, the second one's easy. You've just got to make the captain trust you. Nothing harder than that. I mean, how you do that's up to you, but you know, you've got to make your bed and then lie in it.
Okay.
But if you want to keep an eye out for things, then yeah, things aren't quite as peaceful as they were recently. The old what's it called? There was a title. I can't remember what. Title. Pirate. It's the Pirate King or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Head corset. No.
Yeah, that's what is it?
I'm okay with Pirate King.
Pirate King because no, the old Pirate King. She's not. Her place was taken over. She's been kicked out now. Kangana, she led us all the way through the final years of the 100-Year War, but as soon as that deal with the Fire Lord went south, out she went. Her crew got rid of her. Captain Ninka, she's in charge of the what's it called, the Pyre Howler now, and she's the one who makes all of the calls. She's a lot more aggressive than Kangana. She's causing trouble, and we'll all feel it.
And the new captain is named Captain, starts with an N.
Yeah, Ningka. Ninka. Yeah. Try saying that 10 times fast.
Okay. So she's new and she's more aggressive, it seems.
Yeah, she. Where is it? Yeah, I've heard stories that she was in a Fire Nation asylum once. You're not going to catch me asking questions like that around here, but be careful.
Do I hear this conversation at all?
No, you now, because you're drinking and asking the barkeep, so you can. But now it's time for you to roll your assess situations.
All right. Let's see. Okay, so do you want me to roll first and then I'll ask the question, or?
Yeah, roll first.
Okay. Okay, I think that's a 6. Yes.
Oh, you're rolling your dice that you can't see.
Yeah, you can see them. It's just the earth bending symbol. So I'm assuming that's a good thing. Yes, there's a 1 underneath of it. So 6, 7, 8, and then plus my creativity, which is 0. So I got an 8. I want to know who. Oh gosh, I really want to know. Who was in charge before all this went down? And now who's in charge, I guess. So who or what is the greatest danger?
Okay.
Or who or what is the biggest threat?
So the crew of the Pyre Howler, they see themselves as the top dog around here. They aren't flashy. They're not going to paint fancy designs on their boat like those burning wave so and so's over there. I nearly said a word and say, "Oh yeah, no, we're on the internet. We don't want to say certain things." those showy ones over there. But they go out, they'll get the job done, and they'll come back. Their new captain, Ninka. Joke about nincompoops, come on. She's got them all on a tight leash. She knows what every one of her men's doing at all times. Nothing happens on that ship without her knowing about it, and nothing happens on Crimson Sails without her approval.
Her approval, okay. So
if there's a conflict between any of the other ships, she's the one who'll step in and sort it out. And she's even started to exact a tax on ships bringing in goods from raids.
Okay. So Ninka, what you said, right?
Yeah.
And so to me, like, that would mean, okay, if she knows everything that's going on in the island, then she would have known about the stuff that they stole. And if they're the ones that go out stealing, like, I don't imagine the really rich people going out and stealing. I imagine the, lower decks guys going out and stealing. So that sounds like the pyre, whatever the last one is.
Pyre Howler, yeah.
Pyre Howler. I can read my own handwriting. It's great.
No, I can't.
So for me, that's I think that's what He Jing would go, okay, well, we know who the tyrant is here. And of course, my whole shtick is overthrowing tyrants and, helping people out and things like that. So this person seems like they're causing a whole heck of a lot of trouble.
All right.
So that's probably who I would go after. is go to the pyre howler. I wouldn't go straight to the captain, but go hang out over there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, if it is indeed true what this barkeep is saying, she already knows we're here anyway. So we can either choose to be nice and introduce ourselves, or we can just keep going about our business with knowing that she probably knows we're here anyway. So, do we want to go tell Ben about what we've learned?
I think you can. I think you know where he is. You can.
Well, I can see him. He just didn't hear any of this yet. So
yeah. We
I just want to make sure so he can start interacting and helping us with what he thinks.
I think we should go get Ben before all hell breaks loose. Yeah, we should go get him.
Too late, I think. As you say that, a fireball bursts out of the roof.
Oh, too late.
Yeah. And from somewhere else you hear, "My cabbages!"
From some boat near shore.
Yeah.
All
right.
Emily froze again, I think.
Yeah, I'm frozen. I'm just waiting for it to come back.
I just assumed you were deep in thought. I wasn't. Yeah.
Honestly, this would be Hanu. You know what? This is on brand. This is on brand.
Yeah.
Hanu's just taking it all in, thinking.
Yeah. So I'll go in and see the ruckus because I'm a strong dude.
I figure at this point Ben's been in there long enough that at some point Ben's like, I mean, if there's singing and merriment and over the top exuberance, I figure at this point Ben's just like
in it.
Yeah,
Like,
he's doing the can as everybody walks in.
Yeah, he went in with solid intentions, and then however many partial tankards of whatever anyone else is consuming that he's picked up along the way. Those intentions have inadvertently kind of melted away, and now he's just having a good time. And
Emily, have you tried just turning your camera off and on again, or is that?
It's not even giving me the option to do that. So we're just gonna wait it out, and if I need to, I'll just leave and I'll rejoin.
Okay.
But we'll see. Keep going. I can still hear you guys just fine. I hope you guys can hear me all right. So.
As you say, it's on brand for Hanu. Well, I've just realised what the time is. We've been doing this for nearly 2 hours, and you guys have stuff to do. I have bed to go to.
Is this a good place to pause and we can?
Well, because you've gathered the intel.
Yeah.
And being as I'm flaking here, probably. I mean, I'm having a hot flush here. This is ridiculous. I'm too young for the menopause, I swear.
The glory of being ill.
But yeah, so basically you now know that, I'll explain it, I'll enunciate it clearly so that just metagaming wise.
It's okay, hold up.
Keep
going. Just pretend it's all good.
It's all good.
Hey, you're back!
Yay!
Quick, somebody wipe off the mustache. So throughout your intelligence gathering, you've established that there has recently been some political upheaval on the Crimson Isles. The old pirate, whatever the title was, we're going to say Pirate King, head captain. That's the okay. The old head captain, Kangana, was essentially voted out, from her captaincy of the Pyre Howler, and has been replaced by High Captain Ninka, who is a bit more aggressive and bloody-minded. Her ship, the Pyre Howler, is a lot more, pun intended, runs a tight ship. So, they know how to keep on top of everybody else. The Burning Wave they quite like the idea of not really being pirates and just private, smuggling, profiteering, actually going straight and becoming merchants, because and that shows in the fact that they're easily the wealthiest bunch here.
Yeah.
And the Renegade Phoenix, they're more about getting the job done than looking good, and you can tell that they're the ones who get into the most scraps. All of them have captains who are at the table, so they will all have information. They are all various levels of dangerous. So, but who would you like to go for next? Would be something to potentially ponder off air or between games on Messenger or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, and obviously there's the little fleet that Mosai, the dancing nobleman fleet that Bin's old friend Mosai is in charge of. Yeah, so you've got, hopefully after that winding narrative, you've got different areas you can, different avenues you can follow.
Yep.
And hopefully this time next week or whenever we next do this, I will be in a position to actually talk without going.
Hey, we expect at least Ember Island level voices next time. That's all I have to say.
Expect away.
We're therapists, so that sounds like a kind of high expectation that you've set there.
Well, which moves us on to the question. Let's pretend to be professionals for a minute.
Yeah.
One thing we haven't seen is combat. I was thinking about throwing some in when Bin was doing it, but I thought, no, Jesus, no, not there'll be time for real combat later on. Let's just let him cause chaos. But as a system, because it's given us an idea of what the moves are like, it's you describe the situation, then you choose the move for it, rather than roll for the situation and then decide what happens. So it's kind of back to front. I mean, how do we feel about that? A, as a game to play, but B, as potentially something to use with clients or not?
Well, but as far as so, I mean, this is right. We're so, and making sure I'm understanding the flow. Right, we're choosing the action, then we're choosing the mechanic to back up the action.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, this follows really easily therapeutically for me because one of the things I lean into a lot is a lot of processing through DBT. And often in DBT, you're talking with clients about the idea of working the chain, right? We set an intention, we take action based on that intention, and then we conclude with a review that looks if the action took you to the intention or if it took you someplace else, and then how do we adjust? And I think that's kind of what this is, right? We're taking action, and then we're tossing the mechanic in, like we're setting an intention, and we're tossing the mechanic in to see if I can achieve my intention via the mechanic. And if it works, bully. And if it doesn't, all right, we've got to reassess. Like what didn't flow this time? What didn't fly this time? Right now it's a simple dice roll, so it's a bit of, a hit or miss. But as we go on, right, when we have these other mechanics, especially when we're looking in the future at the balance mechanic, I think this, how we're tending to our characters is going to, it seems like it's going to become very important. But in the moment, to me, just this base mechanic seems to flow not that dissimilar from chain processing and DBT.
Do you know what? I'd never thought of that. Yeah, I like that. What do you think? How about you, Charlene? Any thoughts?
I for the game itself, I feel like for anybody who's new, like playing an RPG like this, having the example questions underneath of the basic moves is a really helpful. But the part that I like the most, that out of the mechanics, that again I had to get used to when I played this before, is like actually looking at what I don't know what you call them, the creativity, focus, harmony, and passion, those skills or whatever you call them, like actually thinking about when you're assessing the situation, like using your creativity, your character's creativity. What does that look like? So almost like a skill challenge, like in D&D, like, okay, well, you're really good at this. So how can you make that work underneath of this mechanic? And then thinking about, how to be creative in that situation. Instead of just being like, oh, I'm going to ask this question, like, like playing your character and, whatever your goals are as the therapy goals or whatever. Like if you're, asking for your needs to be met, or, you need information or something like that, like keeping that in mind when you're asking the questions. Because you have harmony, obviously, that's getting along with everybody else. Focus, somebody with ADHD, like focus is definitely a little bit of a harder stat. But so like just thinking about like story wise too, adding in the goals and the character, motivations and things like that, so that the client who's using it is working on those goals.
Emily, any thoughts?
Well, and just kind of to directly answer the question that you had before of like having the intention set and then the action follows, right? It's something I reflect back to my clients all the time, just within regular talk therapy, of like lots of times the intention does not necessarily match the consequence of what ends up going down, right? For all I know, like when Hanu was talking to Zuko, despite that being very on brand for her character, like talking to a Fire Lord that way might not be the smartest action, despite it being a genuine thing, or it could have worked out really well, or whatever. It's cool to see there's a freedom in this, because I see there's a lot more, at least in my experience, limited experience, I should say, with RPGs. Like this seems to be a lot more so far emotions based, and like, who am I within this group of people, who am I within this world type of game, rather than like as compared to like Dungeons and Dragons, for instance. And I'm sure that can vary on gameplay, but I've really enjoyed that like emotional part, because it can be both freeing and limiting at the same time in the way you play. So it was cool.
And it is notable about Powered by the Apocalypse games. Pretty much all of them, certainly all of the well-known ones, are well-known because they dial into the emotional side of things and the relationship side of things. So just to mention it again, Thirsty Sword Lesbians, that's all about, relationships falling. Yeah, Eric, that's my response every time.
No. I'm just laughing because you're remaining consistent, and every session you have at least one plug for your favorite game, and that's very important.
But also, there's a superhero one which my man flew brain went over. Is it Masks? But that's all about the angst of being a teenage superhero trying to balance being a superhero with going to school and fancying the cheerleader and just being turned down. It's again all about the emotions. And Monster Hearts, is that what it's called? But all of the really famous PBTA games are famous because it's all about usually the horniness, but plenty of emotion involved. Yeah.
I can't wait for combat, because that's what my character's really good at.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, sorry we didn't get there. I was thinking, okay,
Yeah.
we could do some of that, but the first bit is very much, well, let's just gather information and then.
Of course. Yeah.
The one thing the rules do say is to treat kind of each scenario as an individual episode of either Korra or Airbender. You know, and they always start off with, you know, a bit of, oh, what's going on here? Let's find out. Okay, now's time for the fight.
Yeah. My drunk
Well, and for me,
Emily, your response to that was so good.
Listen,
Not again.
not again. It was a mess last time, guys. You all know it.
Oh,
And I want that to just be like maybe a joke that goes on throughout. It's like, oh no, remember that one time?
one time, like, hey.
And it's never mentioned directly. It's just like that one time.
And NPC turns around, oh god, even I've heard of that. Yeah, oof.
That was you
That
guys.
was you. Whoa.
I'm famous.
Yeah, you're not welcome in this bar. Get out.
See, but
Those bathrooms never looked the same.
See, for me, I'm not overly anxious for combat because that's not where Bin shines. And
Yeah,
you know,
I was gonna say this was perfect for you.
And this is great, but I also think this is you know, but once again, here's one of those benefits of how we're using this with clients, right? With what's your natural tendency, and you know, are we looking to play a character that indulges that natural tendency, or are we looking to so you can understand it better, or are we looking to play a character that's adjacent to that, in contrary to that, to develop, you know, alternative skills? And it doesn't mean that you have to be on level with the character. I mean, Bid is definitely not about combat, but he's also not necessarily about I mean, he definitely is a Chaos Goblin. It's the way it's just the way it works. You know, but even with that, you know, talking about how each one of our characters moved, you know, why did we do what we do, right? That breakdown. What was the plan? What were you trying to do? And not just RP, but like why RP, understanding those motivations. Because I will tell you honestly, when I work with a client, I absolutely despise doing role play with them. And it has nothing to do with the client, it has everything to do with me. I feel so disingenuous doing role play with clients, where let me be so and so and you be you. And,
yeah, like traditional, yeah.
But in this kind of instance, when we're doing like this kind of role play, right, you're already taking that step out of you. It's safer, so we can talk. We can really rip apart the motivations, the concepts, you know, because it doesn't say anything about Bin being necessarily benevolent or not. But you know, where I see Bin causing trouble, my interpretation of the character is that he causes trouble, but he doesn't really. He's not looking to like cause harm. He's just looking to keep everyone off their game. He's looking to, you know, to be a pain in anyone who's overly high on themselves, but doesn't want to necessarily see the low guy in the totem pole get smacked around. And so, like, that's how I'm kind of working that perspective. And so, like, when is it a time for me to cause chaos genuinely for that character? When is it a time for me to be more benevolent with that character?
And if you're working with clients, like, holy moly, that's...
Thank you.
That's not a question.
Say exactly the same thing. It's like, yeah.
When do I cause chaos? When do I actually, like, get along with everybody and follow the plot? And, you know, especially if you're working, I'm just thinking about my teen group. Like, there are so many, I have 6 teens all.
Causing chaos, you say. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them are, you know, like, oh, let's work together as a team. But of course, there's the 1 or 2 who are like, I'm gonna go do the thing, and you're like, oh, that doesn't like advance the plot. What are you gonna do? So trying to like teach them through the consequences in the game, you know, when it's appropriate to be a chaos gremlin, or you know, when it's appropriate to like follow the through line. And I think that's what Eric, that's pretty much what you've been saying about your character the whole time. This is like,
yeah,
he's working that balance between the two of those things.
And it's also cool, you know, like there's that old like if you're doing improv, not necessarily role playing, of like the whole yes and right, like you don't ever directly necessarily disagree with someone in improv just to keep the scene going, right?
Right.
However, what's cool about RPGs is you can disagree with someone and have that, because like hopefully at that by the point you're doing that in the game, you have built your characters enough where it's like, well, how would my character respond to you disagreeing with me in this moment of like, you know, there's a difference between I don't want to do this thing that we're all saying we're going to do, as opposed to, oh no, there's no pirates on this island. Like, you know, there's a difference between the two.
I rolled on that one. Well, that's that done.
Yeah, exactly. So and that's why it's also kind of cool to have a GM where it's like, well, it doesn't matter what you think. I'm setting this world up, and then you're going to react to it. So it is kind of cool too to see that.
I will say, actually, as in terms of the GM side of things, because I don't know how obvious it was. I actually found this kind of because it gives you plenty to think about, but not necessarily enough to railroad. And I'm normally very good at just making crap up as I go along and telling my clients, okay, yeah, fine, this happens. Yeah, and then this happens. Yeah, what are you going to do now? Whereas this, you know, or you've got the other thing where you've got the entire thing planned out for you step by step, and you know, with a map. Okay, you turn left here, which means you go to page 20, and then you read out the pre-written text and say, what do you do now? Whereas this is in the middle ground where there's enough of a plot to give, but not necessarily enough for you to rely on. And that's, I mean, that could just be the fact that I'm dying here. But I don't know, that this isn't necessarily my happy place in terms of the amount of information, because there is lots of information here, but it's kind of all over the place. There is a section on each of the 3 ships. Then there's another section on each of the 3 ships and their crews. Then there's another section on a list of the 3 ships and their crew, and it's like, okay, where is? And then there's another section of the ship's captains, and it's goes, where do I go to get that particular piece of information? And as I say, I think that's a dick move, not having information about the Harmony Restoration movement. It's like,
it's a major plot point.
And yet the backstory with this is automatically just so rich, because like theoretically I would hope that you would use this game with clients who are at least familiar with Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know. So you know that like quick recap we did at the beginning of like what's this, like, you know, what's the history of this island, things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that, and you understand maybe cultural parts to it automatically that you might not get in other role-playing games that don't have as much of an established backstory.
And that's with this game, like, and I noticed this when I played it, because I played it with a GM that's been working with this system for a while, is like you said, in D&D there tends to be like, okay, well, I cast this and then this happens. Like there's a pattern almost, whereas like, because this is so much role play, it depends on the players to kind of come up with creative ideas to move the plot along, to kind of decide what actions we're going to take, like that type of stuff. Whereas D&D feels like it has, like you said, like has rails a little bit. Maybe that's because of the mechanics, because of the spells that you can do, because of, you know, kind of how you play certain characters. But this is just like free reign. Okay, what do you want your character to do? Like they're in this situation. What do they do? And so if somebody's not used to role playing, you know, that might be a little bit hard to kind of just go from that big idea to, okay, what does my character do? You know?
I was going to say something deep and meaningful, but it's gone. It'll come back as soon as we finish. Seriously, that was it. So first time I played PBTA game, two of the people were playing. One was very happy with role play, but just really couldn't get their head round mechanic wise, and the other one was all about the mechanics, really couldn't get their head round yeah, just like role play. No, give me a die so I can roll it, please.
Right.
That's my kind of role play. You know, roll with a double L. And a big part of the job with clients is finding what works for them. You know, and as Charlene was saying, if they're not comfortable with the role play, if they're not comfortable with that level of creativity being, you know, thrust upon them,
which you could use as a tool. So I'm always the mean one. I'm like, well, you know, if I have a client who's, you know, worried about role play and they have social, you know, anxiety and they don't want to talk to people and things like that, I might put them on the spot if they're ready for it. I might put them on the spot and be like, what does your character do? And obviously, like, be a little bit more responsive. Like, I know we're trying to follow the rules and stuff like this, but like, I'd probably be a little bit more, okay, well, what do you think your character's thinking at the moment? What is their intention at this moment talking to this person? Like, trying to guide them through, you know, what they should be doing or what they could be doing, to help them figure out what, you know, they could role play as. But again, that's, you know, that's teaching them how to think about what they're saying in their head before they say it, and, you know, how to interact and, you know, all those different kind of things. So even having it be harder it could be useful for therapy wise. Just depends on the level of the client, you know, on what they're comfortable with and what they're working on. Yeah, I mean,
it's also safe though. I mean, yeah, like you're saying, you're being mean, but like,
yeah,
of all places, be like, I'm challenging you to do this.
Yep,
this is probably
came here
the
for this.
safest place to do it. Worst case scenario, okay, well, you know, we blew up a couple barrels that we probably shouldn't have done, and like whatever. But you walk away completely fine in real life. So it's a challenge without crazy consequence.
Yeah, and so like I think you know, as a GM, you would have to do that kind of improv of like directing people, you know, if they're not sure what to think or what questions to ask or how to think of their character, like, you know, being like, okay, well, you know, what's your character's demeanor again? Oh, sad and haughty. Okay, how would your character react to this? You know, just kind of direct them in that way. So,
but also what I do like about this as a system, but this especially because of the fact that it's Avatar, is that you do have to kind of unlearn some of the typical RPG playing mindset, you know, because if you watch something like Critical Role or Dimension 20 or something like that, it's very much the DM is the one who's telling the story. The others, they have the characters who take place in the story and say how it transpires, but it's very much the characters reacting to the GM. Whereas here it is much more like when you met Zuko, you know, it was a list of questions, you know, how does Zuko know you? Why did he come to you? And it just requires that bit of a, oh no, this isn't me being told what to do next. This is us. We're just going to make this up as we go along.
Yeah.
Well, and the idea of that shared narrative. I mean, you know, we often talk about, especially working with individuals who've been disempowered in one way or another, and how sometimes even putting forth the simplest opportunities for clients to acknowledge boundary concerns. Well, if someone's been disempowered, they don't have the mechanisms that wherewithal, that understanding of how to do that. Now, if we're involving them in the shared narrative, instead of it being a traditional GM-driven game, but now where it's this collaborative world building, scene after scene.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing? What are you seeing? What you know? How do you fit into this? I mean, think about just the power of that structure that seems fun and benign to us, but how strongly we can leverage that if we're working with people who've been disempowered.
Yeah. My teens love it. When I say, all right, we're going to do world building today. Like, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and you're going to come up with the city. You know, what's the flag look like? What do the people look like? You know, like all that different kind of stuff. they get so involved and they start talking to each other and be like, oh no, this is, this is it, or that's it. And they're all laughing and, like building the world together. So I think that you're right. Like that's a major difference here is like the players are building the world instead of the DM directing. The players are going, okay, we have to figure out together, what we're going to do, what this looks like, who they're talking to, all of those different kind of things. Which again is a little bit more work on the player than the GM, when you're playing D&D. But they love it. Teens love it. I'll tell you.
I wish my teen would love it more. I tried to get him involved in creative stuff. No. Oh, you want me to do it, do you? And I'm not doing it. Cheers.
Yeah, as soon as one of them one of them was like, oh, the main food here is kale. And we were like, what? I was like, yeah. And then there's coffee shops all over the place. So it's kale and coffee shops. And I'm like, sure. And they were just
why not
excited and kept going. And they buy in. And again, like that's the whole point of why we're doing this, right? Is to get them to buy into the story. But when they're buying into the story, they're also buying into each other because they're making up the story together. Eventually, they ended up in a Scooby-Doo door situation where they were going in and out of doors and coming out of random doors and stuff like that, and they had a blast. So like it is a little bit more heavier on the players this game, but I think with some good direction and help, like you could really get people to kind of expand their creativity.
Yeah, and the number of people who come, I don't know if anybody else has experienced this, who just tell me if they're not creative. I'm like, oh, challenge accepted.
I'm one of those people, by the way.
No, you're not.
Because when you say creative, I think most of us instinctively think some kind of art, like drawing, painting, sculpture. I mean, something of that nature. But we're not considering creative in creative thinking, creative application, right? Developing the world in your mind. That kind of creativity isn't something that we highlight typically. It's not something we talk about often. It's something that's under the level that then comes out in more practical ways. So I think I would agree with you 100%, Daniel, that like often people don't say it. I'm one of those people but when it comes into this environment, all of a sudden, I'm so in tune with the making the character, right? I mean, these are pre-gen characters, but it still gives us so little about who the character is. That's still a thought.
That's what I've loved here as well, because as you say, these are pre-made characters. Technically, one of the most enjoyable parts of the entire RP process is creating your own character, and yet the buy-in you've all got for your characters is joyful to watch. I mean, like I say, Hanu's, oh god, no, we can't let it happen again. Remember that was just the chaos, the not just the stealing beers as he wanders around the bar, just the obsession with the mongoose lizard, just...
Well, and I was going to say too, like you're talking about creativity and it not being reinforced in like real life, right? This ADHD, like that's why I bring my ADHD clients to the table and I have them be creative so that I can reinforce them and everybody else is reinforcing them at the table when they don't feel creative like that, or they're always put down for their type of creativity. They don't think it's, the right type of creativity or whatever, right? Because I know I'm ADHD. I get told I do it wrong all the time. And I'm just like, no, like, I'm going to do it my way. Well, that's because I'm stubborn, but that's beside the point. But like, again, this is how it's very useful with people with ADHD. Like I did this with my D&D groups. I had an ADHD person who was always told, that's not the way you do things. You need to follow the process. You need to do, and then he would say, I'm not creative. I'm like, wait a minute. And then he ended up doing the people's elbow, which is a wrestling move for I don't know, people who jumped off of a column and did the people's elbow.
Sounds a bit socialist, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah, like he just like rammed down into the who thinks of that? You know what I mean? But I reinforced it. I was like, you don't even have to roll for that, right? And I feel like this is reinforcing that creativity that, okay, well, you can make up the story. You can make up whatever you want. Because I think that's what we're kind of all going through too, is like, how far do I go with this? Like, what do I make up versus what's there already, story wise. And so like, we're trying to figure that balance out right now. Us just being the players. But again, I love using that dynamic for my ADHDers because they just always get told wrong that their creativity is wrong. It's not the right way to do it.
And one thing that was cool about the setup of this particular campaign, I guess you could say, not just session, but the campaign, is that it was established that this group knows each other, has known each other, has worked to get together. So already there's that assumption that we at least tolerate and like each other on some level. So, all of our characters are so different from each other because it's, again, established that you're going to get along. There's no getting to know each other yet of like, oh, well, who doesn't? And we can get through, I'm sure we'll get to that in future sessions of like, well, what do we think of each other? But on some level, there's already that acceptance of us each being individuals within this group, as opposed to maybe having a character that hasn't known people yet. So, I'm going to keep this part of myself masked or hidden at this point, So it was cool having that like already established group that theoretically likes each other.
And that's how you were called to, why you guys, because normally, when you start your cliche campaign, you're in a tavern, and you just go off on this crazy adventure, and why? Whereas this is very much, well, no, he's chosen you, and this is, this is why. Let's decide here and now why he did it. And in that short conversation, A, we learned more about your characters, but B, just that's another story to tell.
Yeah, that's what I find with like my groups. Like if you have a already preset notion that they know each other and they went through something together before, it kind of like when you're talking about like as a therapist, when you're talking about group dynamics, right? Like usually, people, if it's the first session, they're all nervous. They, they don't know the player, the players and things like that. But if you have them establish that, fun story right in the beginning, then it kind of alleviates some of that anxiety about not knowing the other players, like the actual players not knowing each other, because they just made up a story together off the bat, and are having fun already. So, it definitely, I like using that as a technique as well, just to kind of help people feel a little bit less stressed about joining the group. Because it is stressful. I'd be stressed too, or I am stressed too, because I want it to go right. Even as the therapist. So.
Well, and I'll bounce off that with with just a quick comment on one, a personal preference for TTRPGs, but also a preference for, I know some people use different digital gaming environments therapeutically. And one of the reasons I've never been a huge fan of that, obviously I'm biased as not someone who's not a huge fan of video games, but because the worlds are so scripted and limited. Even with this idea of pre-gen characters, the amount of latitude as individual players we are allowed to have, that we're encouraged to have. That there wasn't a prescribed reason for being here. There wasn't a prescribed relationship. Like there was an assumption that we have a relationship, but why? Right? All these aspects that we got to buy into, that we got to make us. I didn't have to subscribe to anything, or not much. I was able to build it, and just like Charlene's saying, build it in conjunction with my fellow players. Right? It was off the bat. Right? The hardest part of a relationship is why you're all there in the first place. Right? You've all agreed to be here, but now, like, how are you? Like, what's going on? Those details become fun. And that's why I love it, and that's why I love this kind of format, regardless of the game, but especially in this. I'm enjoying this because it is so RPG.
Well, on that note, I've just realised we've been doing this for 2.5 hours. So if anybody has anything else they want to spitball, or shall we call it a day?
It was fun. Yay!
Hanu out. That's my sign off, man. Every single time. Hanu out.
Yeah, every time you speak to a client from now on, it's Hanu out. So what? Oh, did I say that here? Oh,
Does she need therapy?
I ride off into the sunset with my mongoose lizard.
Yeah, your lizard just staggering left and right. As it just...
The bin will see you later.
Classic.
I love it.
I oh my god, I felt that pain like I was punched in the stomach there. Oh my god. And on that, right, guys, take it easy. Don't do anything we wouldn't do, and have a good one. Cheers.
Bye.